Hi, I'm Zoe, and this is my fantasy cartoon style tankard designed as a stylized prop for a magical workshop setting. It's part of a whimsical world where exaggerated shapes and vibrant textures help tell a story. You can see the final textured model here. My workflow started with the UV unwrapping in Blender. I used the UV editing workspace and manually marked seams to control distortion. The tankard's curved body was tricky. My first seam layout caused stretching, especially around the vertical grooves. I revised it by adding seams along the top and bottom edges and splitting the handle into separate islands. This gave me cleaner UVs and better control over texture placement, especially for the engraved wood. Once the UVs were finished, I moved into texturing. I used Blender's procedural tools to build each material layer. For the metal, I started with a dark base and layered in noise and Vinoy textures to simulate wear and surface damage. Bump maps helped to add depth. The wood was the centerpiece. I used a rich brown base and added greenish streaks to mimic magical veins. I added subtle grooves with noise textures and used reverse color maps to enhance the engraved look. The leather on the handle was textured with a subtle grain and a dark tone to contrast the cooler metal and wood. I kept it understated to support the overall balance. After completing the base textures, I baked out all the key maps. Ambient occlusion for shadow depth, normals for surface detail, albedo for base color, roughness for texture variation, and metallic using Blender's diffuse setting. Then I used GIMP to texture pack these into a single ORM map, assigning ambient occlusion to the red channel, roughness to green, and metallic to blue. This helped streamline my shader setup and kept the asset optimized for real-time use. Once packed, I applied the new materials to the model. While my process is finishing in the background, I want to explain how textures work with this prop. Each texture supports the tankard story. The metal feels aged but durable, the wood is alive with magical residue, and the leather adds a tactile, practical touch. I imagined this as a workshop mug, used daily, stained with arcane brews and workshop grime. One challenge was striking a balance between stylization and realism. I wanted exaggerated detail without losing believability. Another was managing texture flow across curved surfaces, which I solved by refining my seam placement and using noise and Vinoy textures to guide detail and using mapping nodes as well. This project taught me a lot about the PVR pipeline and procedural texturing. I learned how bump maps, Vinoy, and noise textures can elevate stylized assets and how UV layout directly affects texture clarity. Next time, I like to explore emissive maps to make the green veins glow and experiment with baking high poly sculpt detail into low poly meshes. I also want to push my leather textures further, adding more wear and tactile variation. Fun fact, this tankard isn't just a class prop. It's actually my VTuber's go-to mug in her 3D workshop. Imagine it sitting on her workbench, stained from late night crafting sessions and magical experiments. Thanks for watching.